welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. I'm having a great time with Bob Losler. I asked him between the breaks if he ever did stand-up comedy, and he told me, it sounds like it's very similar to my scenario. We do it with our family, but boy, are they ready to pull out of the net.
After 4 or 5 times, the kids go, Dad, we've already heard this material. You need new material. And I say, no, son, I need a new family.
Exactly. He started doing that whole Rodney Dangerfield deal.
No respect.
All right, but someone who has great respect and someone who I respect and love to have him on the program is Stephen Wright. He, too, is a contributor here on The Price of Business, and he's out there on the front lines making it possible for businesses to really take control of one of their biggest expenses, which is technology. And before we get started with our conversation, Stephen, welcome to the show, and kind of give us that 411 of what your company's all about.
Sure. Thanks for having me again, Kevin. We provide IT services for small to mid-sized businesses. Basically, we become their IT department. So we try and take the stress and strain of putting in that technology, which is designed to improve productivity. But if you're not careful, it can actually detract from your business. You end up focusing on your technology too much, and we take that away from you, and we make it so that technology becomes a transparent tool to help you succeed in your business and increase your productivity of your office.
And you allow your clients to intuitively, because you're in charge rather than them of the IT, have the exact number of employees necessary to keep their IT blowing and going.
Exactly, correct. We augment our staff. We can put more people on and less people on as the needs arise. You have a project going in, you're expanding. We can put 3 or 4 people on. We can put 5 people on. We can put 1 person on. We can, as needed, in order to satisfy the needs of the company.
Bob, I'm going to have you jump in real quickly. Talk a little bit about the attitude among professionals like yourself, those in the tax preparation law when it comes to IT.
We've talked about this in the past in regards to our specialties. Let the client do what they do best. If it's brain surgery, if it's insurance, if it's sales, let them do what they do best and pass on items that either they don't have time for or they're spending too much time for and becoming very inefficient to professionals like Steve and myself.
Yeah.
Okay. But I want to tell you, Stephen, when Kevin first said I was going to be on with Stephen Wright, and he didn't tell me what you did, I said, oh boy, he was a comic in the 80s and 90s. Hi, I'm Stephen Wright.
Right.
And I woke up this morning.
That's right.
And I wanted to go back to bed. So you're a lot funnier. So I mean, I'm glad I'm in the same room with you.
That, yeah.
You're a relatively young man. I'm sure you were abused being Stephen Wright at the same time that Stephen Wright was prominent.
I tell you, he was one of my favorites.
He was hilarious.
There's no doubt I can get in a quoting contest with just about anybody on that guy.
How does your service? How well is it received among lawyers, the CPAs, medical doctors? What kind of receptivity do you have in that arena?
It's excellent. I mean, really, the people that are offering outsourcing to their clients and outsourcing certain tasks like the CPA business and accounting and bookkeeping and those kind of things, is all the way through to healthcare and everything else. Those companies are very familiar with what the offer is. They realize what the improvement is to the business, so they're really open to it. And that's where we find a lot of our referral business as well as a lot of our clients.
Bob, let me ask you real quickly. I mean, because again, you've been a professional in the tax field now for decades, longer than you want to admit. But you also work a lot with lawyers. You work with doctors as well. What is the attitude when it comes to IT among those type of professionals?
Well, I think there are 2 types of attitudes. One is, I want this off my desk. I don't have time for it. I've botched it, although they won't admit that they botched it. Or they've got this, it's under my arm routine, saying, I'm not releasing this unless you really talk me into it. I want to write my own checks. I've got a client that has 60 employees, and I've asked them for 4 years now, let's go to a private payroll service. And his response is, no, whatever it takes you, we will pay you. I do not want my administrative staff, particularly my office manager and controller, to know what everybody else is making. And if I issue a bonus to Smith or Jones or whatnot, I don't want her knowing that Smith just got a bonus based upon sales. And so you've got people there that don't want to release the control.
Yeah.
Right? And then you've got others that are happy to do it because that means they can generate more revenue.
Thank God, it's about time someone took this from me. How big of a problem is there about fear of control when people make that transition?
Yeah, it's enormous. I mean, that is the number one hurdle we have to overcome when we're meeting with someone. Just like Bob just said, when you walk in, you know within a few minutes usually what personality they are. And they're usually extremely extremely resistant to it because they've been the person doing it all the time, whether they want to or not, whether they're good at it or not. They've been doing it, or they're very open to it, and they're just wanting to change from who they're using, or they recognize they've finally outgrown their own skill set and they need to hand it off.
Yeah,
and there's really no in between. So that's really where we are.
What kind of things do you do to help help your clients, Bob, get that comfort level to be able to make that transition out?
The stress issue, as Stephen mentioned, is there, no doubt about it. But
it can cut the tension in the room, right?
But what you work around is, and I've told clients is, they'll say, you'll quote them a fee, and you go, well, that's more than I'm paying my current, CPA, tax preparer, etc. And then you say, but what are you getting out of them? Well, what do you mean? You're here in front of me asking me to prepare your return, so that means one of two things. Either they're too cheap, or for what you're paying them, you're not getting what you want. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what do you want and how much do you want to pay for? Okay, but if you push and instill in them that this is a win-win situation, give me the opportunity, you'll see what you get out of it. All right, if by you writing the check and I can show you that I just saved you $5,000 and you wrote me a check for $5.25, I think you're ahead by $4,400.
Yeah.
All right. Not that you paid me $525 to do a service that you used to do on QuickBooks or Tex, whatever, that you don't want to spend the time or the effort in.
And on your side, Stephen, what kind of things do you do? I'm assuming there's documents there that are signed to protect that type of thing.
You can. The hard costs are easy to measure and compare to. You can literally show the improvements. You can bring them references of other clients. The one that really makes a difference is if you can make the case of the soft costs, the ones that are a little harder to identify, where you show them, the accidental IT worker, the person that was hired for one job,
and still
but happened to know, one thing about a computer. So next thing you know, every single computer issue is being handed to that person and demanded of them to work on it. That's the kind of, that's the cost of what is that person costing you and how much cheaper could it be done.
There's opportunity costs, there's financial costs. It's a nightmare. I'm telling you right now, people need to focus on their primary business. They should have always been doing that, but especially in an economy like this. That's why I love what guys like you do, not to mention the whole labor perspective of protecting yourself from liability from the government by outsourcing that, to a company that's here in America. I love that. Right Technologies, that's right with a W, righttechnologies.com. Your number real quick.
281-260-8001.
Awesome. And then, of course, the one and only Bob Lozer, Taxman Bob at pdq.net. That's Taxman Bob at pdq.net. And your number one more time.
713-953-1272.
And you can get it all over there at priceofbusiness.com, which you'll have more of right after this.
There's one for you, 19.
We want you to know that the old methods to get new clients do not work. According to recent studies, business owners are spending more time than ever building their businesses, and they have less interest than ever when it comes to dealing with salespeople. So how do you get their attention in this tough economy? A new free report details a program used to profoundly open doors. It's been used on CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, famous entrepreneurs,